Have you ever stood in your kitchen holding two eggs in one hand and a stick of butter in the other and just hesitated? You think about your last cholesterol test. You think about what your doctor said, and you put the eggs back in the carton and you reach for the egg whites instead, or maybe just a bowl of dry oatmeal because somewhere along the way, you got convinced that eggs and butter are the enemy, that they're quietly clogging up your arteries every single morning. I want to stop you right there because what I'm about to share with you today might be one of the most freeing things you hear all year. Eggs and butter, real quality eggs and real quality butter may actually be helping your cholesterol profile, not hurting it. And I'm going to walk you through exactly why using real science, not internet rumors. Now, before we go further, I do need to say this clearly. If you have a condition called familial hypercholesterolemia, a genetic issue, this conversation isn't for you and you should work closely with your doctor. Same thing if you're what's called a hyperresponder, meaning your body reacts strongly to dietary cholesterol. But for the rest of us, and that's the vast majority of people over 50, I think this information applies, and I think it's going to change the way you look at breakfast. Here's why this matters so much once you hit your 50s. Your body is going through real changes. Your hormone production is shifting. Your cell membranes need rebuilding. Your brain, which is mostly made of fat and cholesterol, needs raw material to keep functioning sharp. And most people in this stage of life have been taught to fear the exact nutrients our body's asking for. That's the problem hiding in plain sight. We've spent decades being told to strip fat and cholesterol out of our diet right when our bodies need it the most. So let's fix that misunderstanding together, starting with the egg. Let's talk about the egg yolk first. The egg yolk is loaded with two powerful compounds that most people have never even heard of. The first one is called choline. The second is lecithin. Both of these compounds do something remarkable. They help your body mobilize cholesterol out of your system. So here's the number everyone focuses on. One egg contains roughly 186 milligrams of cholesterol. Sounds like a lot, right? But here's what almost nobody tells you. Your own liver makes cholesterol every single day, and it doesn't make a small amount. It makes around 3,000 milligrams a day. Compare that to the 186 milligrams sitting in that egg yolk. It's a drop in the ocean. And inside that same yolk, nature packed in the very tools, choline and lecithin, that help mobilize cholesterol through your body. It's almost like the egg came with its own instruction manual. So why does the egg still have such a bad reputation? Because for years, people assume that dietary cholesterol, the cholesterol you eat directly, raises your blood cholesterol. But that link has never been solidly proven. In fact, research has consistently shown that dietary cholesterol intake is not associated with a meaningful rise in blood cholesterol for most people. And there is no solid study showing that eating eggs negatively impacts your cardiovascular system. That alone should make you pause the next time you push the eggs away. Now, here's a study that I think is genuinely fascinating. Researchers look specifically at two plant compounds found in egg yolks, lutein and zeaxanthin. These aren't just good for your eyes, which is what most people know them for. In this particular study, they looked at people following a lower carbohydrate way of eating, and they found something remarkable. The eggs actually improved their cholesterol profile. Specifically, participants showed lower oxidized cholesterol readings, and they showed a shift toward the large, buoyant type of LDL particle instead of the small, dense type. That distinction matters more than most people realize. Small, dense LDL particles are the ones associated with artery damage. Large, buoyant LDL particles are far less concerning. So in this study, eating eggs while eating lower carb actually pushed people toward the safer type of LDL. That's the opposite of what most of us were taught to expect. And here's something else worth sitting with for a second. Those same two nutrients, lutein and zeaxanthin, are absorbed by your body more efficiently when they come from eggs than when they come straight from plants. Which makes you wonder what else we're missing when animal foods get thrown out simply because they contain cholesterol. There's one more piece to the egg story, and it's about vitamin K2. Egg yolks contain vitamin K2, and this nutrient plays a very specific protective role for your heart. It helps direct calcium away from your arteries and into your bones, where it belongs. So instead of calcium building up along your artery walls, contributing to hardening and blockages, vitamin K2 escorts it to your skeleton, where it strengthens your bones instead. When you put all of this together, the choline, the lecithin, the lutein, the zeaxanthin, and the vitamin K2, the egg starts looking less like a threat and a lot more like one of the most supportive foods you can put on your plate for heart health. Now let's talk about butter, not the typical grocery store butter from grain-fed cows. I'm talking specifically about butter from cows that are grass-fed and grass-finished. That distinction matters enormously. And if you can find butter that's also cultured, meaning it contains beneficial bacteria, that's even better because now you're getting an added layer of support. So why does butter still get blamed for heart disease when so many traditional cultures have thrived on it for generations? A big part of the answer comes down to two mechanisms that don't get talked about enough. The first is your microbiome. Your gut bacteria produce something called secondary bile acids, and your liver produces primary bile acids as well. These bile salts are directly involved in how your body regulates and mobilizes cholesterol. When you consume foods rich in beneficial microbes, like cultured butter, you're supporting that same bile salt pathway that helps manage cholesterol naturally. The second mechanism is vitamin K2 again. Grass-fed butter is one of the richest natural sources of vitamin K2 available, and just like in eggs, it helps steer calcium into your bones instead of into your arteries, protecting the very structure of your blood vessels over time. There are a few smaller supporting players too. Grass-fed butter carries beta-carotene, which is actually what gives quality butter that deep yellow color instead of pale white, and it also contains a compound called CLA, which has been linked to lower inflammation. But the two mechanisms that matter most for your cardiovascular risk are the microbiome and bile salt connection, and the vitamin K2 and calcium connection. Those are the ones I want you to remember. Now, here's something that matters, especially for anyone going through menopause. Cholesterol is the raw material your body uses to build hormones. Not just estrogen and progesterone, but cortisol as well, the hormone that helps you handle stress. If you're going through menopause and you're also following a very low-fat diet, you may be unknowingly starving your body of the very building blocks it needs to keep your hormones balanced. So many women fight fatigue, mood swings, and stress sensitivity during this stage of life. And part of the answer might be sitting right there in a pat of good butter. Let's step back for a second, because I want this to really land. Cholesterol is needed to build your hormones. Cholesterol is needed to make vitamin D. Cholesterol is a core building block of every cell membrane in your body. Cholesterol supports your brain function. Cholesterol strengthens your immune system, and cholesterol is required to make bile salts, which help you digest fat and regulate cholesterol itself. This is exactly why your liver works so hard to produce roughly 3,000 milligrams of it every single day. Your body isn't making a mistake. It's meeting a need. Now let's get practical, because knowing this information doesn't help you unless you know how to actually use it. When it comes to eggs, look for pasture-raised eggs whenever possible, because the nutrient density, including the vitamin K2 and the beta-carotene content, is noticeably higher than in conventional eggs. The best way to eat them is with the yolk fully intact. That's where nearly all the beneficial compounds live. So skip the egg white only habit if your goal is heart support. Pairing eggs with vegetables, like sautéed spinach or tomatoes, gives you an even more complete nutrient package. One common mistake people make is drowning their eggs in low-quality vegetable oil when cooking them. Instead, cook your eggs in butter or a stable fat, which brings us right back to today's topic. When it comes to butter, always look for the words grass-fed and grass-finished on the label, not just grass-fed, because grass-finished ensures the cow ate its natural diet all the way through. If you can find a cultured, grass-fed butter, that's the gold standard. A common mistake is assuming all butter is created equal. Conventional, grain-fed butter simply doesn't carry the same nutrient profile. And who should be cautious here? Anyone with diagnosed familial hypercholesterolemia, anyone confirmed as a hyperresponder to dietary cholesterol, and of course, always check with your own doctor before making major changes, especially if you're managing existing heart disease. So how much and how often? For most healthy adults over 50, 1 to 2 whole eggs a day is a very reasonable amount. And there's no strong evidence that this raises cardiovascular risk in people without those specific genetic conditions. For butter, a tablespoon or 2 a day, used in cooking or spread on whole foods, is a practical and sustainable amount. Consistency matters more than perfection here. This isn't about eating a dozen eggs in one sitting. It's about steadily including quality eggs and quality butter as a normal part of your week, the way traditional diets did for generations before processed low-fat foods took over. So let's bring this all together. Eggs give you choline, lecithin, lutein, zeaxanthin, and vitamin K2, all working to support a healthy cholesterol profile and protect your arteries. Butter, especially grass-fed and cultured butter, supports your microbiome's bile salt production and delivers vitamin K2 as well, while also supplying the raw cholesterol your body needs to build hormones, especially important during menopause. This isn't a miracle cure, and I want to be honest with you about that. It's simply a simple, natural habit that lines up with real science, not fear-based headlines. Before you go, I want to know something from you. Drop a comment below and tell me exactly how many eggs you eat in a typical day right now. I read every single comment, and I'm genuinely curious how many of you have been avoiding eggs out of fear versus how many of you already eat them freely. If this video helped clear up some confusion for you, hit like, subscribe if you haven't already, and go check out the related video I've linked because it goes even deeper into everything eggs can do for your health. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button. It really helps the channel. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss the next videos. I love hearing your thoughts, so please subscribe and let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.